Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
Today's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess is brought to you by Top-Notch Clothing. You know, our family loves to stay in shape, and so we need a lot of different workout gear. And myself, Angie, and the kids have started to love wearing Top-Notch. They've got men's and women's apparel, shorts, t-shirts, leggings. The fit on it is so good, and I love their hats. I'm a big hat guy, and you can literally get the hat super dirty, and it just washes right off with some soap and water. It's absolutely fantastic. Look, if you haven't found workout gear that works for you, then check out the website, tnclothing.com, and you can get 15% off your first order when you use promo code BLESSED at checkout. Top-Notch Clothing. Check them out. tnclothing.com. Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where I'm really excited because we've continued to have really neat and different guests over the last several months. And today's guest for Angie and I, it helps us to feel closer to Hallie and a sport that she so loved.
Yeah, as you all know, Hallie was a barrel racer and just had such a profound love of horses. And she was literally the only one in our family, an extended family, that had that interest. And so we're always trying to keep Hallie's memory alive in our hearts, and horses were very much a part of that. So it's only fitting that we bring on a professional barrel racer to our show. I'm sure Hallie's like, really, Mom? Now you're going to bring on a professional barrel racer?
Better late than never.
Sorry, Hal. We're like a work in progress here. So we are super excited to have Kendra Dickson on this episode. She's a professional barrel racer from Aubrey, Texas. Welcome, Kendra.
Well, thanks, Angie, Aric. I'm honored to be here. I'm really excited to have this conversation. And before we started, when you mentioned how many people would watch the sport of barrel racing just because they loved Hallie. They were supporting her. And like you said, she had to go all over, hours away. And it's not really practical to drive 3 hours or 2 hours from home just for 16 seconds of performance. But that just makes my heart so happy that she brought more people into our event, because it is very important to us. Yes, there's something magical about a horse, but it means so much more to us who live it. It is our Western culture. And to be able to share that and engage other people, I'm just like, yes, go Hallie. I didn't even get to meet her, but I agree with you. Like, I believe that my family that's passed on, they've graduated, like they're very much still working for me. And when I celebrate, I imagine my dad up there going like, that's my girl. Yes. She got it. I sent her that idea. She got it.
Yeah. I love that. We say that a lot of times, that like something will be going on and I think Hallie's going, that's my mom. That's my mom's a badass. Look at her go. And so we love that you feel the same way about your loved ones. And so I got to watch Hallie barrel race one time, and then go into the barrel race and seeing hours of folks on these horses. It's such a dangerous sport. I know now why Hallie had so many injuries over the years, because it's what you guys are doing out there. It takes an incredible amount of bravery, and it is absolutely a sport because it takes a lot to be able to do what you do. That's amazing. What's the hardest part for you, or when you're trying to teach somebody to get into barrel racing, what's some of the hardest things for you?
This is so good. So great question. Like, we have 10 years of answers. So I'm going to have to try to drill down and pick a few, right? You definitely, you hit a bullseye when you said it looks so dangerous. I think that's the hardest part for me, because I was born into the lifestyle and was very much safeguarded by my parents, who were professional horse trainers. That was our business. They knew a lot of the risk. And so they taught me from a very early age. But I think that's the biggest thing that I have to conquer when new people come in, because they see, oh, that horse is so pretty, is really articulating the inherent risk that are involved. Because think about it, that horse is going to weigh anywhere from 1,000 pounds to 1,400 pounds. And this is a sport of speed and precision. And so there's indescribable amounts of variables that could happen. So the main thing is trying to express to new people coming in, yes, it's fun, it's exhilarating, it's thrilling. You're going to learn so many other great things to help you in all arenas of life. But it's so important to slow down and not miss and not respect that this horse doesn't speak our language. It's body language. And a friend and I, we were talking the other day about some of the risk. Is it worth a particular training technique that we were talking about? Horses are big. And when they go into flight mode, which is natural for them, just imagine 4 very strong arms flying through the air with rocks on the end of them. So they come at you, it is a whooping. You're going to get bumped. So yeah, just knowing the risk and slowing down if you want to get into this and learn proper communication as best you can.
Yeah, I think also what I've seen with just Hallie's experience, because what's amazing for her, she took a sport that her parents, we knew nothing about it. We knew nothing about horses, and she got into it, embraced it. And I think it taught her a ton of patience and humility when working with her horses, because, any little thing, you could go a completely different direction.
That's right. Horses have feelings of their own. They have thoughts of their own. They have different backgrounds just like we do. And even though they are not humans, and our equine behavior specialist on the team, James Davison, he's constantly reminding us, be careful not to assign our own values to a horse. They don't value the same things. But I do see a lot of common denominators. I see a lot of commonalities. And so it helps me almost to imagine them as thinking like a human, because, not every horse has the best intentions for themselves or us. Not every horse is self-aware, nor are people. And so if a horse that I'm riding has no disregard for their own safety, how can I expect them to have a mind on what's best for me and to keep me safe? So those are horses that are definitely a higher risk to ride and be around.
I feel like this is a great conversation for you and I, because Angie and I have recently purchased a horse in Hallie's honor. It was one that she had picked the stud out for. And so then this foal was born. And so we've purchased this foal, and we don't know jack squat about horses, right? So we're on the fly learning. And so for you to tell me that I have to think about it a certain way is already helpful. So I can already tell this was a good idea, honey. This was a good idea to have Kendra on the show to help us learn some things. And we're not planning a barrel race. That's not what we're trying to do with this horse. Now, if one of our nieces would want to do that, great, because we do have a niece that reminds us of Hallie that's learning how to ride, things like that. And that would be great. But right now we know nothing, and we need that Horse Owners for Dummies book. It's got to be out there somewhere, right?
This is a great segue to
there you go.
So give us some background on what you do. I know you founded Stall High in 2020. So share a little bit about what that is.
Before Stall High, I was very passionately running with the ministry Rodeo for a Reason, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, and started way back in 2007. I felt like God was leading me to do a free clinic. We had one free saddle, and that was a way to attract people. Like, I'll help you with your barrel horse if you give me the time to tell you about my faith. So just
that's awesome.
Radical. I love talking about horses and rodeo. I love talking about Jesus even more. But I was very overt for so many years and got radically challenged about how I was going about ministry in late 2019. And then when 2020 rolled around and we're looking at mandatory stall rest, globally, Facebook appeared to shut down for a couple of days. And I'm like, Lord, are you saying what I think you're saying? Am I picking up on the right impression? And I felt like he said, yes, your people need your own Facebook, like yesterday. So I booked a call with a friend of mine who's a programmer at 3:00 that afternoon, I believe. And we talked about how to start our own app. And I really struggled with what to name it. I'd already kind of sketched out this logo and used a term that my dad used to say about horses that you leave in a stall for too long. They go kind of cuckoo. They act way outside their normal characteristics. They just act 10 feet tall and bulletproof. And it is dangerous. It's more dangerous to be around them because they're not thinking rationally. And we saw society do that through 2020. So I really thought Stall High was going to be like a t-shirt brand, like haha, wink, wink, like horse people are going to get it. Like we're all Stall High in 2020.
Yeah.
And when the app, I felt led to do that, I really struggled with the name. And because my business name had been Gold Buckle Barrel Horses, and that's what I'd done for the bulk of my career, training and selling barrel horses, I wanted it to be Gold Buckle this, Gold Buckle Network, GBN. I thought that sounded so cool. And the attorneys did not. The legal team said, not so fast, Kendra. There's a lot of gold buckles out there. So do you love it enough to defend it? If this thing grows and scales in 5, 10, 20 years, and someone wants to claim that they helped you get that because they already had a gold buckle. Oh, and I remember sitting out, we had taken a little short vacation. My family and I, we were sitting out by the lake, and Chad said, why don't you call it Stall High? You've already started that. It's uniquely yours. It means something to you. And that's what we did. And as God started to kind of walk me through that process and explain, the benefit of naming it Stall High, at the root, I believe it means freedom. It challenges us. The brand, my team, I want to challenge people like I've been challenged. Someone cared enough to point it out to me. Hey, is the way you're doing it the most effective? Or are you at a place yet where you're willing to consider if you make a tiny change, it could have an even bigger result? So we want to challenge people to consider, where do you feel stuck in life? What is missing? It's not necessarily what's wrong, but what don't you know yet that could help you take one step out of your stall, just one baby step of progress. And so that's now what we do online. I've moved all of my in-person training online inside the Stall High app and the online mentorship program. And I geek out on it every day. I love it so much.
I think it's so great that you found a way to incorporate your faith in Jesus into what you love as your passion for life. That's the kind of thing that just amazes me, right? Because, so many of us love Jesus and try to bring our kids up so that they love Jesus. But I don't think about how can I incorporate this in my daily life that I love so much. I wish that I thought that way, because it's just super inspiring that's, what you've done with Stall High. It's super neat. And then do you feel like how many people or kids are you helping and bringing and influencing through Christ with it?
Well, and here's where I had to change my mind.
Okay. All right.
I had to be challenged, right? Because I was very much living even though I would have argued with you at the time, if you told me I was a religious person, I was very religious. See, I didn't really understand, but I go to a non-denominational church. I'm not religious. Oh, yes, I was.
Yeah.
Yes, I was. So 2020 was just a huge shift for me, and almost like a spiritual reawakening. And that's where I feel like God, and I had people helping me understand this. That's one thing I know now, is to reach out for help. When you want wisdom, you got to ask for it. And you've got to start surrounding yourself and seeking mentors and advisors in your life. And some people did help me understand that being so loud and putting Christian on everything. And I had been scolded about mixing business and faith. You don't do that. You can't do that. And that's why I struggled at rodeo for a reason. I was going broke. My business suffered because I wanted to talk about the Lord and I wanted to be there at the nonprofit, but I would look at my bank account and think, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got bills due, and I haven't been taking care of my business. I haven't been advertising these horses, but I thought I had to keep them separate. Well, no, I got permission to be more covert. You don't have to have a ministry like we typically think of. You don't have to have a nonprofit. Just do what it is you do in excellence, serve people well, and don't be so pushy about sharing your faith and making sure they know you're a Christian.
Right.
You can be yourself. And through that process of relationship and service and building trust, then perhaps God will give you the honor and the opportunity to share about him.
I would say I love that because I grew up very religious, right? And I thought I'm doing all the things that the church wants me to do. And it wasn't until I got older and realized really being a Christian is what you just said. It's a reflection of how you serve and love other people. And when you're doing that well, you're a reflection of Jesus in our world. But there's always a disconnect for people, right? Like you think a lot of times, well, I want people to know that I love Jesus. And so I got to shout that when really it's just the way that you love and you serve them. Then that eventually can lead to the conversations that are more deep in spirituality and things like that, I think. So yeah, that's fantastic.
So I'm curious, everybody, you just mentioned kind of a setback or a realization. Like how do you handle that when you come across challenges in life? Because I think, even on this podcast, that's kind of our theme in this season of our life is like when you get hit with the setback or, tragedy, disappointment, whatever that looks like, how do you shift your mindset or how do you counteract that?
I believe I started years ago. So it's a process. It's not a magic wand. I believe that magic wand moments, those divine moments where God just intervenes, like, boom, let me just fix this for you right now. Those miracle moments that we live, I love those too. They do happen, but they don't happen all the time every day or we wouldn't appreciate them. So I can see looking back, I'm so glad that I got started because it took a long time to condition my mind, my body, and my spirit to handle challenges better. But at least I got started. At least when something would happen and I would just be so deflated and heartbroken and why was this happening? I couldn't understand it. And I would just like wallow in it and kind of get sucked into that pit or that stall of grief. I literally started doing what they say to do, like change your mind. Don't let that come out of your mouth. Don't say that you are struggling. You can say you're battling it. Mm-hmm. But don't define yourself as struggling because you're always going to be there. You're always going to be stuck. So start to change your speech first. If you can control your tongue, you can start to I personally believe this, you can start to reroute and remap your mind. Because if we've lived as a negative person or pessimistic or, man, it always falls apart. I just get so close and it always falls apart. Well, you're going to relive that cycle if you don't change it. And more times than not, it's the soft tissue between our ears. That's what needs to change first.
I've said this in one of our other podcasts. I'm reading a book right now called Soundtracks, and it's about changing what goes on between here, right? Because it's so true that I get caught up in that, right? It's this, my wife says to me all the time, what story are you telling yourself? And so I want to rewire that, like you said, and want my kids to be able to rewire it because, I think sometimes some of the worst things that we can do is to try to, as a parent, naturally want to take the pain away from our kids. But sometimes if we don't let them live through that pain and figure out how to work it out, then they become adults that don't know how to suffer well, because there is a difference between suffering and suffering well. And then they don't know how to work through their own challenges. And I think we could talk about that all day, probably, right? But is there a way, I want to tie this back into something that Hallie loved, because I just kind of want to try to figure out what her mindset was. How, for somebody like Hallie that loved to get on a horse, we could always tell when she was struggling that she needed horse time. She needed to be with her horse and on her horse and take those rides. And sometimes we say with Hallie being gone, like she's just going off and taking a long ride right now. She's just going to take a long ride to kind of reset. What's that like for you and when you're working with people with their horses?
Horses are healing. I didn't always know that. I mean, I felt it, but I didn't understand it. If you are blessed to the point to where you own a horse or you have access to a horse, please don't do what I did and take that for granted for so long. Because if you're not mentally at a place where you can process what's happening and you can't change your mind yet, but you can go be around a horse, they can help change it for you. They can help heal it for you. And I'm now so blessed. God's opening up some amazing doors that I've dreamed about for years, and it's happening. I'm living it right now. So just last week, I was at Baylor University in the biomechanics lab, and we are about to start a study to measure the amount of force upon impact to a horse's back when riders, specifically barrel racers, ride with stirrups that are too long. when they ride using a very traditional and still popular, some of those techniques are very damaging to our horses' mouths, their backs, and their other crucial joints. So we're really geeking out on the biomechanics of a ride. But what I'm learning through this and through Stall High and the team that is taking shape, and it's actually a movement that's being birthed out of this brand and out of this app, is that a horse, not only will they match their heartbeat to yours when you're with them, but there's so much research out there about our nervous systems. So our nervous systems actually connect, and that blows my mind. There's so much science out there. There's so much that I don't know. And there's like, what an amazing privilege we have, those of us who have grown up with horses or now have access to a horse. You don't even have to ride them to benefit from being around them. So I think that was obviously kudos to you parents for recognizing that's her passionate. We need to support that, because those were probably her reset moments. She may not have understood how to fix things or how to process things, but a horse, even just their movement, so front to back, side to side, up and down, well, that stimulates our entire nervous system. It stimulates your brainstem. Like, you're going to start to think in new ways. So if you are mentally stuck, go saddle a horse.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Because it just makes me think of Hallie so much.
Yeah, she had written in a letter to herself at her high school in 8th grade. You'd write a letter to yourself, and then you'd read it your senior year. Mm-hmm. And that was in her letter is, sometimes when you're feeling stressed, you just have to go saddle up the horse and go for a long trail ride to reset your perspective. I mean, that was her words in her 8th grade letter. So amazing.
Physical and neurological benefits. Not to mention spiritual. I mean,
right.
I was having conversations with God, even though I didn't know that's who I was talking to. They were just things. I mean, I thought I was talking to my horse or talking to myself. I mean, there are things running through our head and thoughts. And so many times we don't recognize that's God. He doesn't just talk on Sunday morning when you're sitting in a pew.
It's true. What do you tell young riders that maybe are fearful? They want to get on a horse. They want to have a horse. They want this long journey around their fear of failure. Because it's a long journey to learn all about a horse and basic things, right? Saddling up, trusting them, learning how to ride, all of that. And it's scary.
So something I heard recently, I've already said while we were talking, and I think that's probably the easiest way to explain it. Our natural mind typically goes to something's wrong. Something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with my horse. Something's wrong with the way I'm doing things, or the way I was born, or something's wrong. Nothing is wrong, but something is missing. Maybe a whole lot's missing. Maybe you just don't have enough experience yet, but you will, because you're actively doing something about it. So trust the process. It's natural to feel fear. And in time, the more you practice it and the more experience you have, in a positive sense, it's going to get easier, and that fear will dissolve. But don't feel like you're never going to get it. You will.
So with your Stall High app, is this the kind of experience that people that join in get to experience every day?
If they go to the button that says online mentorship, or we're about to make a pivot. So we're going to start running very specific online challenges for the barrel racing community, and like a free 5-day event the first week of every month. So we're going to do that for a year, rinse and repeat for a year. But through that process, there will be a 3-week course and then a 6-month certification program. So that's very specific. If you're just coming to the app to hang out with people, there is a free community aspect to it. You can use it as a social media platform, but really you have to click through some buttons and really get involved, and always reach out to us, if you want to know how to get plugged in. But you mentioned overcoming the fear. So one thing we're doing right now that I'm so happy with inside the Stall High app, we're facilitating something called the Miss Rodeo for a Reason pageant. And it's for girls 14 to 24. I did the whole pageant thing growing up, and it was good. It was awful all at the same time. God awful.
Gosh.
I'm glad I did it, but there was so much wrong that I saw, and I had so many bad experiences that I told myself if I was ever in that position, I was going to do things different. So in this pageant, we provide coaches not a traditional panel of judges. And so we want to uplift these girls, and we certainly don't want them to feel it's political. I'm not saying all pageants are, but I've driven away from a lot of them where it sure felt that way. Whether it was or it wasn't, it felt that way. So what we're seeing now, we've gotten past round one, which is virtual. And the girls did a virtual interview by Zoom. They're sending in their videos, introduction, and now they're interacting in a private group inside the Stall High app. I'm so proud to be a part of this. I'm so proud of them to see just in a week's time how much they're smiling more, they're sharing more, they're supporting each other. They're losing that deer in the headlights look, like, I'm on Zoom and I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. You're going to make mistakes. We all suck in the beginning.
Like, that's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing, because I'm such a big advocate for women empowerment, right? And that confidence, I just see it across the board in young girls, especially. They lack that confidence, and it's such a critical stage for them as they're growing up in the social media world. Finding ways to empower them and uplift them, I think, is critical. It's critical. And it's interesting. I don't know the answer to this. You probably do, but barrel racing is predominantly female. Why is that, you think? Even just the barrel race that we held for Hallie, there was maybe 2 or 3 males, but the rest is women. I love it because it's like, look at these amazing young girls and, older women as well, riding their horse as fast as they can. I love it. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. But I've never asked myself or wonder why is it predominantly female?
I personally think it's just because of tradition.
Okay.
That's how it started. And it's a little bit easier for the girls to do because you don't have to have as much upper body strength as, say, a bronc rider or a tie down roper.
Got it. I didn't know it started female.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So way back in the day when rodeo was becoming an official sport, well, it was called the GBA, the Girls Barrel Racing Association.
Okay. All right.
Didn't know that.
The WPRA, the Women's Professional Rodeo Association.
Nice. Okay. Well, then that explains it.
That is awesome. Yeah. We did not know that. What would you say is the scariest thing you have done?
Financially. Sign my name all high, let's do this, babe.
Yeah.
Husband and I are, we started as the primary underwriters. I learned real quick that it's a great idea. It's not exactly, I didn't have a business model. It wasn't a great business move. So when I announced Stall High as an alternative to social media, well, it scaled like wildfire. We got 11,000 people on the app like that.
Oh, wow.
But I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the processes to keep them engaged. It was just kind of like a new app. Now what? It's not as cool as TikTok. It's not as cool as Facebook. No, those brands have billions of dollars, and Chad and Kendra don't.
Yeah.
So even though it was a great idea, I had to really figure out this doesn't pay for itself. We're the ones having to pay for everybody sharing their content. And what is the point? I mean, I do agree that we all need to stay in communication. We need to know where to go. If for any reason all hell breaks loose and the world changes tomorrow and some owner of another platform decides they don't like people wearing cowboy hats or riding horses, well, digitally, all they have to do is click a button and nobody sees us. We can't find each other online. Then what? How do you function in society today like that? So that was a benefit I saw to Stall High. But really setting up the processes of online training, that's how it pays for the app. That's how it pays for, now we can support Rodeo for a Reason and other, projects like that and lift it up.
I love the virtual aspect of it because, again, if you're in a rural area to go get any type of training, you'd have to drive hours, right, to get the one-on-one. So I love the idea of the virtual training, and you can connect with so many people. Such a great idea.
So
Not idea. I'm not taking credit for it.
So then how do people find you then? If it's what do you have socials that they should look for, or is it just download the app, or what do you recommend for people that would want to get more involved with Stall High?
We're on multiple channels. So obviously Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can download the Stall High app.
Love it.
ALLHIGH, and find us there. We have an email, info@stallhigh.com. So I'm very blessed with an incredible team. We're not big in numbers, but we're very passionate. And we're just literally learning as we go about technology. I was born on a ranch setting, into a ranch lifestyle. So it's been very comfortable for me to communicate with horses my whole life. People not as well, right? Certainly not technology. So that was a very scary move for me to leave the comfort of what I've done my whole life. That was my primary source of income, and start something I literally knew nothing about. Terrifying.
It's amazing. That also reminded me of Hallie, because she'd always say, I'd rather talk to animals than people.
I'm way better at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't beat around the bush. I can communicate what I need immediately, and they either get it or they don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Angie and I are about to find out how to communicate with a horse, I guess. So we're in the process.
We'll help you with that.
Yeah, I have no doubt I'll be signing up for the Stall High app.
Yeah, for sure. That's the only way we're going to figure this out. Yeah. So we have time for one last question, one that we asked our guests all the time. Do you have, or you and your family have, a favorite tradition?
Do we have a favorite tradition? My favorite, probably yes. But something we do as a family. Oh, gosh, that's a really great question.
You can share just yours too. That's fine.
Well, this is more like heavily on the spiritual side, but I learned this years ago, and it actually has gotten to be kind of fun, even though my husband still rolls his eyes and Caden would be like, oh God, here we go again. If you'll write down a Bible verse or several, for us, we do it either New Year's Eve or toward the beginning of a new year, and just go plant them around the yard, plant them in the ground. I don't know why I didn't grow up doing that, but we do it now. I don't think we did it this past year, so it's still kind of early. We can do it.
Yeah.
There's still time.
It's not New Year specific, but there's just something about that. It brings peace to me. I like the prophetic act that we are taking the word and planting it in our literal ground. So I do believe, God honors that in dynamic ways and supernatural ways. And when you do an act of faith like that, I believe that's very powerful. There was one thing we started in 2020, and we talked about making it a tradition. Everybody was like, staying in. We're not doing the whole family thing. We'll just talk to you on the phone, but everybody's on their own. Well, Chad loves to cook. I can bake, but I can't do a turkey. All of the big things, the big meals, my husband Chad cooks. So he actually did the turkey, the dressing, all of that. We were done by like 9 a.m. and we ate at 10 a.m. So we had our Thanksgiving meal for breakfast. We went back to bed. It was amazing. And then we got to get up and eat again. And we still had the whole day. So
That's
we're like,
amazing.
We like this thing, eating early. Because he gets up early. The turkey was done. Table's ready. Y'all want to just go ahead and eat? Yes.
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 Now our nap is really a long, long nap. That's fantastic.
You don't even have to make your bed. You just crawl right back in it.
You don't even have to change your clothes. You can just stay in your pajamas.
That's fantastic, and seems like something that people should be doing. That makes a lot of sense.
It's weird, but we like to eat early. We even eat dinner early every day. Like the thought of waiting till 7 or 8 o'clock to eat, Chad and I just cringe because we're hungry early.
We are too. We'll be fine one day eating at 4:30.
Yeah, for sure.
We eat at 4:30.
We eat between 5 and 6, but I can see us eating at 4:30 at some point.
Yep. Just makes sense to us. It works for us.
Awesome. Well, Kendra, it was so great chatting with you. I'm sure we'll stay in contact, and I'll have a lot of questions for you in the future for sure. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, you were awesome. I really enjoyed this, and I love the way that you incorporate your faith into what you're doing. Absolutely love that. And we hope that God blesses your week and your family, and couldn't be more grateful for having you on our podcast. Thank you.
It's been an honor, and I just love that you're honoring your daughter through this. I mean, what a healthy way to do that. And I just know that it's going to help so many other people walk through those seasons of their lives. So I commend what you're doing and happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. This has been a reminder today that Phoenix, our horse, could really be healing in this time of suffering and grief that we're in. So,
well, you mentioned a Bible verse in ours that's so prevalent every day is God does not cause pain without allowing something new to be born. And we kind of look at Phoenix like that.
You got some goosies over there? Yeah.
It's a verse that just keeps popping up in our lives. And we 100% believe that to be true. Even through the pain, there will be something new born. And I think the power of healing through a horse that she wanted will benefit our entire family. So that's also why we're so eager to learn as much as we can about the healing power of horses. So
and continue the legacy.
That's right.
Full effect.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Kendra, thank you. And all of you listening, we appreciate you very much for your support. We hope you have a wonderful week, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.